Oops, another political commentary. Let's hope it's not as controversial as my other political videos. But it's politics. What more could I hope for? Today we're gonna be talking some shit about Mark Dice. For those blissfully unaware of this autistic clown, Mark Dice is a right-wing political commentator. I wanted to make a video on this dude for a while, and out of boredom, I watched a few of his videos, and this one in particular I found to be the worst one out of all of them. Let us watch, shall we?
Yesterday, the George Floyd funeral was aired live on every major television network: CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and even Fox News. All 4.5 hours of it.
Well, you'd think that after his death caused a worldwide debate about police brutality and systematic racism, as well as being a complete tragedy in general, that they would broadcast his funeral. Unless you're gonna give some insightful commentary on why they shouldn't, right? Right?
I don't know how much Al Sharpton charged the Floyd family to deliver the eulogy, but knowing his history of race hustling, he probably skimmed at least $100,000 off the GoFundMe page. As soon as it was done, Jesse Waters read from the teleprompter like a good boy, instead of calling out his network for participating in the media circus.
Welcome back. You're looking live at the funeral procession of George Floyd in Houston, Texas. A very emotional day for his family and his friends. Floyd's death igniting a nationwide debate over police reform.
4.5 hours wasn't enough. They had to literally follow the hearse from a helicopter.
Or not. Rather than give some insight to why this may be harmful, you're just basically saying, oh, yo, look at this dude broadcasting this. And that's about it. I'm trying to come up with more to say about this segment, but I'm genuinely getting nothing of substance from this.
As bad as Fox News has become, with the exception of Tucker Carlson, the last truth teller on TV, CNN is still 1,000,000 times worse.
What's happening? Why are these people together?
Oh, well, they're gathering together to protest.
Protest? I doesn't understand. What's a protest?
Oh, a protest is when people come together to show they are upset and disagree about something. They want to make others aware of the problem.
By the way, this is not a joke. I didn't edit this together and add the CNN logo like I've done in the past in obvious satire pieces. This really was a CNN segment.
Okay, it's a CNN segment. I'm more confused than anything because he's not giving any insightful commentary whatsoever. He's not criticizing anything. He's giving nothing of substance. Why do people listen to him again?
It wasn't just a segment, however, it was a whole show that they broadcast last Saturday, apparently deciding to finally dumb down their broadcast even more so that their audience can understand it.
Coming up, we're going to talk about inclusion and empathy.
Oh, those are some big words. What do they mean?
Hey, we're going to find out, but first, let's hear from Big Bird Sesame Street neighbors Gordon and Maria. They're going to help us answer this important question.
Hey, Mark made a legitimate argument. The problem is that it makes him look like a complete fucking idiot. The purpose of the Sesame Street segment was to teach children about the harm of racism and the purpose of the protests in a way for them to understand. They're not trying to dumb it down for their audience or shit on white people like how your idiot god Tucker Carlson says.
In other news that sounds like a joke, but unfortunately it's not, a woman complained to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary about the definition of racism, and so they're going to change it.
I basically told them that they need to include that there's a systematic oppression upon a group of people. It's not just, oh, I don't like someone. It's a system of oppression. It's a system of disadvantages for a certain group of people.
That's right, folks. It's a one-way street. Only white people can be racist. That's what the dictionary says.
Good fucking job putting words in her mouth, you absolute fucking moron. Never once did she mention white people. She's not even asking to change the definition at all. What she's requesting is to add on what systematic racism is, which is when a governmental system fucks over a group of people simply because they're not like them in terms of race. She never mentioned white people at all, but that won't stop you from putting words in her mouth to further your retarded argument.
And after hundreds of businesses in Minneapolis were looted and many burned to the ground where this whole mess started, now the city council is saying that they don't need a police department.
I think the idea of having a police-free future is very aspirational, and I am willing to stand with community members who are asking us to think of that as the goal, because So many folks in our community have seen us work on reform.
A police-free future. No police, says the Minneapolis City Council president.
In a country where the police are more likely to commit a crime than the average fucking citizen, it isn't unreasonable to defund or even abolish the police. Maybe if the police did their fucking job correctly, then the protests and looting wouldn't have happened.
And Sean Hannity made the mistake of bringing Professor Cornel West on air to defend the defund the police agenda.
You are hurting black people by acting this position. You are taking the wrong position. No, my brother, that stuff plays out. That plays out. Address the question. Do you? Oh my gosh, you have lost control. You're a dinosaur. You're an outright dinosaur.
If you didn't catch what he said there, you'll have to rewind the video because if I repeat it, I'll be labeled a racist.
So you can show the clip, but you can't say what he said? You're literally just repeating someone else's words. You could have just said that instead of using the shitty excuse you just made. Now, I did rewind the video so I could understand what that guy said, and I couldn't understand what he said. So if you guys could type in the comments what he actually said, I would really appreciate that.
And if you read books, you're apparently a racist too. NPR reports that your bookshelf may be part of the problem if there aren't enough books on there written by black people.
Now, this is the part of the video where I have to do Mark's job for him because he's so amazingly autistic. I read the article and it doesn't necessarily say what Mark is saying. What it's actually saying is to disown the themes of colonialism established when this horrible country was first settled. And if you're a white person only reading books written by white people, the chances are that these ideologies could have been subliminally implanted into your head without you might not even being aware of it. It doesn't necessarily say that you're a racist. But of course, Mr. Dice here doesn't properly explain anything because he's a goddamn imbecile.
And when you go to Amazon.com now, you're greeted by this gigantic Black Lives Matter banner on the homepage, and it links to a blog explaining how you're probably a racist.
Thank you for showing us that video, Mark. Thank you for doing a commentary on that video, completely dissecting it point by point and explaining why it's flawed. Thank you for not being completely fucking lazy in the slightest.
There's no end in sight to the madness, and now Cops, the long-running reality show, has been canceled because, well, people hate the police so much they've been clamoring for all police television shows and movies to be banned.
And nothing of value was lost. And we hate the police because they don't do their fucking jobs right and want to act like they're above the law when they're not. And the fact that Cops was actually cancelled because of public outrage is absolutely hilarious. And this is where I'm ending the video. The rest of it is basically him bitching about the NFL and celebrities while plugging in his shitty merch. All in all, it's essentially your average anti-SJW video. He gives very shitty contrarian counterpoints with little to no substance whatsoever. The fact that there are people who actually listen to him is fucking dangerous to say the least. Holy shit! My first non-cartoon community commentary, hell, commentary in general in almost like a fucking year. But rather than discussing cartoons, we're gonna be discussing about something even more retarded, politics.
And rev up those fryers, cause I am sure hungry for one. Help! Help!
Yeah, I fucking know. And before we begin, I want to set something straight. Yes, this is a video criticizing the left, but don't think I made this video because I'm salty that this guy criticized a political party that I'm more leaning towards, because that isn't the case at all. I'm making this video because I think his points are very flawed, and I want to give my take on them. Got that? Outstanding.
Do you and I share the same goals? If we do, we can disagree, even strongly disagree, and still have a productive discussion.
Holy shit, people are allowed to have their own opinions? What a fucking groundbreaking discovery.
We might even reach a compromise. But if we don't share the same goals, then what?
Then agree to disagree. Not everyone has to share the same principles and ideologies as you. As long as someone's goals don't actually hurt anyone, then let them view whatever the fuck they want.
The left doesn't share the same goals that liberals and conservatives do. They have a whole different set of goals. Let me give you some examples. Raising kids without a gender identity or encouraging them to question their sexual identity. This to me is a form of child abuse. I don't care who's doing it. Parents, teachers, doctors. Their goal is not my goal.
Yeah, because letting our children be who they want to be instead of repressing their true selves is truly a horrible thing. Unless you're implying that the parents of the child is actually forcing them to question their sexual identity when they're completely fine of being straight, cisgendered folk, then I would agree with you there. But if the parents are just letting their kids be who they want to be instead of what they or you want them to be, then I fail to see how it was child abuse.
Here's another one. Demonizing white people and males for the world's problems is not part of my value system. There is no shared goal in that. I believe in merit and character over race. But now it's cool to say that white males have done all the bad things in the world. I have 2 little boys. I get angry just thinking about people telling them they're responsible for racism and sexism. Beautiful little children who just dance in the kitchen and smile. So that's not a shared goal.
One thing that bothers me about these type of people is how strong their fucking hypocrisy is. I think I can safely assume that this guy is a conservative due to the context of the circumstances he gives us of his family's political history.
My parents and brother lean more to the liberal side of the political spectrum than I do. We argue, we slightly nudge each other, we change opinions a little bit, and then we go back to Scrabble. They were very upset when President Trump withdrew from the Paris Climate Accords. I was happy. We argued about it, but it was all good because we share the same goals. We all want clean air and water for our children. We all want to develop clean energy. We want America's economy to prosper. We want to be less reliant on fossil fuels. I thought the Accords were a bad deal for America. The best way to lower carbon emissions, in my opinion, is to let the free market and American ingenuity loose on the problem. They, in contrast, think the government needs to step in, fund the research, and keep the corporations in line. Doesn't matter, because we have the same goal, a healthy planet. We also disagree on gun control. My brother's a little more with me, but my dad wants a lot more regulation because he wants fewer school shootings. So do I. So does my brother. But I believe if a potential killer knew he'd encounter teachers and administrators well trained in the use of weapons, we'd have less shootings. Different solutions, shared goal. I've always thought this is how America is supposed to work. Liberals and conservatives respectfully arguing over the best solution to a shared goal.
So I love that almost all conservatives on the planet doesn't want all straight white males to be portrayed by society as evil, racist, sexist pigs, while they fucking generalize all leftists based on every angry feminist blog you see on Tumblr. It's genuinely hilarious how, despite their hypocrisy, these people still expect themselves to be taken seriously as a political party.
Here's the third example. People can differ about how many legal immigrants America should allow into the country. But when it comes to whether America should have open borders, well, there's no shared goal there. A country with open borders ceases to be a distinct country, and I want America to remain America. All these ideas, and I could give you a dozen more, are coming from the left. They want to turn the history of Western civilization, of America, a history I'm very proud of, into a highlight reel of human errors.
Okay, so can we talk about the irony of how conservatives don't want open borders to preserve the country from the immigrants' culture? Yet, if it wasn't for their ancestors coming to an early open-bordered America, ruining its culture with their own, then these people wouldn't fucking be here. It's like conservatives of the dictionary definition of a double standard, but the problem is they're so unself-aware about it. And if you confront them about this, they'll most likely deflect criticism on to the left because these people can't fucking handle it, or at least some of them. And this is where I'm ending the video. The ending is basically this guy bitching about how the left has different opinions and ideologies as him. All in all, it's just a normal fucking conservative rant about how the left is poisoning society with the same basic arguments you see in every other video in its fucking genre.